our event where we are recording this event. We'll kind of we'll stick it back out there for other people to see if they didn't get to come tonight. But in this event, we are targeting families, young people, old people, everybody with some, look at me. Okay, I just had a baby 3 months ago, and so my brain sometimes turns off. So sorry about that. But with this event, we are showing people what can happen with their careers. Where can you take your tech careers? Where can you take your entrepreneurship careers? What's out there for you? How can you get it? Do you have to be a certain type of person to get a career? And so this is kind of the different stories that you can learn from, and maybe it will help you reach your goals or make you think of something different and help somebody else. And we look forward to seeing you all hopefully in the ION soon. We are hoping to open as soon as COVID is away. So until then, we'll be virtual, but we can't wait to see you all in our building in Houston as soon as we can. So with that, Ashton, why don't you introduce yourself and get started?
All right. Thank you so much, Chelsea. So as Chelsea said, my name is Ashton Guerrero. I am a wife and mom of 4. I'm also the founder of Beyond the Gate, as well as GAC Consultants. And most recently, as Chelsea said, one of my goals that I finished up was I finished my MBA at the University of St. Thomas in December 2020. So during that MBA process, I took an entrepreneurship class, and that's where I met Chelsea as well as Christine and was introduced to the ION. And just so grateful for that opportunity to just be able to meet them and kind of learn about what all the ION does, how it can benefit entrepreneurs and startups, and just kind of developing people as a whole. So very grateful to be able to have met them and be able to present in something like this. So that is a little bit about me. So you want me to just kind of journey through my story?
That's what I was kind of thinking, where you decided, because you have kind of a really interesting journey. You had one career and then you were like, I want to do this MBA, and then it took you to this whole other place. So kind of maybe talk about why you decided to go into human relations first, and then what made you kind of take a jump.
Okay. So as Chelsea said, I've always been a human resources professional. I actually got my bachelor's degree in business sales and marketing. And just kind of took a job, and I rotated into human resources, and I kind of loved it. Being able to help people, being able to work with people. I'm really good at like strategic things. So learning processes and how it benefits people. And I just kind of fell into human resources actually. After my first job, I actually left to pursue my MBA because that was a goal of mine when I graduated from undergrad, was to complete my MBA program. However, as detours happened, I actually got pregnant with my twins. And so I decided to not go to school then. I kind of stayed at home with my children. And then a couple of years went by to 2000. So that was in 2010. So in 2017 was when I finally decided to go back to school. Actually, it was my husband who pushed and said, why don't you go back? Now's a good time to go. And at that point, we had 4 kids. My youngest one had just made 1 when I decided to go back. So went back to the University of St. Thomas and got my MBA. At that time, I actually didn't have a concentration. I just kind of went all the way through. I was looking for a human resources concentration because that's where I was. That's what I knew. So going back into the workforce, that was kind of where I thought I would go. And interestingly enough, I signed up for the entrepreneurship class because it was the only elective available at the time to fulfill a degree requirement. So I signed up for the entrepreneurship class. I met Christine, and it just kind of like took off from there. She kind of talked a bit about like entrepreneurship. It kind of became real at that point. We had heard about entrepreneurs. I knew who they were, but it never seemed like something that was within reach. Coincidentally enough, in 2014, my mom and I were in an airport, and we were with my twins, and we had such a hard time kind of struggling with them as babies and what could we take on the plane? What couldn't we take? What couldn't we get through security? I had to throw out my milk. It was just so much. And just kind of in that time, I sat down and wrote out a plan to have like a baby lounge. Back in 2014, I didn't even know, just kind of wrote that plan out. So fast forward to this entrepreneurship class, Christine says, okay, you all are going to make a business and you're going to build it. And I was like, huh? We're going to do what? And it immediately took me back to the lounge that I kind of talked about. But just remembering that, you know, we're in 2021 now, everything is kind of going a little bit more automated. And so vending machine is what came up. We have to have something in the airport where we can get people to get their baby things in the airport in the vending machine. It's already ready to go. At that time, I had a cousin who had created a kiosk. He had a food kiosk in an airport in Michigan. And so I was like, okay, I know I've seen it done before. And I called him and he kind of talked to me about it. And it just kind of went from there. I threw out the idea to Christine. She came up with the name. She actually named it Beyond the Gate. And just kind of helped me develop what it looks like. We worked through what's the problem, what's the plan, how does this work? I mean, from start to finish. That class was awesome because they were my classmates in class that I got to hire. So they were able to work with me to kind of develop the plan and how it would work and put together the business plan. And it just kind of took off from there. So fast forward from there, I graduated with my MBA in December of 2020 with a concentration in entrepreneurship, just based off of that one class that I decided to take. It kind of changed the whole trajectory of my degree and my career. But again, still working full-time in human resources and working with the ION, doing different programs. I did the YouTube conversation with Christine and just keeping it in the momentum of it, because a lot of people were asking, you know, well, what's going on? How is Beyond the Gate? And so it was kind of like that push to actually get it done. And at that point it was, well, I need the funding. I have the plan. How do I come up with the money? And I talked to somebody that was a venture capitalist to kind of talk through how that works. This is how the money works. This is not how the money works. I figured out like angel investors, reached out to a couple of my friends that I know that are entrepreneurs, and how do you make money? And one of them actually said, I really believe in your business. I think that's the biggest thing, is to find people that believe in it. Coincidentally enough, it's not a hard sell for parents. People that have kids that travel, it's not a hard sell at all. It's people that are like single or that don't have kids that are kind of like, I don't know if it's going to really work. And so kind of being mindful of the audience, I kind of knew like who to pitch to and who not to pitch to. So I did get my first, I call it investment. A friend of mine actually purchased my first machine. And that's kind of what got us on the path of moving towards Beyond the Gate. And I don't want to go too far into like the full on plan, but basically I've just been kind of developing it since then. We've gone into so many different ways. And then I'll go a little bit later into where we are now, but Beyond the Gate was actually on one part. I was doing my human resources full-time position on another part. I actually ended up getting laid off in February due to COVID. And so with that, I just kind of remembered that, hey, I have this full-time entrepreneur piece, and also have friends that have businesses. So just throughout a few conversations and talks of like needs and concerns of some of my friends that are business owners, I found another need with people that need human resources professionals. You have small business owners that are doing the business, they know their business, but they're having concerns with like, how do I hire? How do I fire? Am I charging them the right amount? Do I have my labor laws covered? Am I going to be okay? And just kind of talking through them. And I said, you know, I could make a business out of this too. This could be a nice little side hustle. And so that's where GAC Consultants came from. So what I do is I go in with people with small businesses and just kind of understand their needs, what they're looking for, understand their business, see what plans I can put together, kind of process improvements to be a little bit more strategic with their people and their culture. And we move towards that. Currently, I'm working with two small businesses where I'm more like their full-on resource. I do, deal with their employees and their recruitment. And then from there, other companies, I will go in and do like an audit. They might say, you know, hey, Ashton, I just don't know what I need. So I would go in and audit and say, okay, well, your I-9s look good, your personnel doesn't, this looks this looks that, you know, I can fix it for you, or I can get you someone to fix it. And we kind of go on through there. So that's a little bit about GAC Consultants in a nutshell. And so now I am just kind of moving forward with both of those. And those are kind of like my full-time gigs. And COVID has definitely changed the dynamics of Beyond the Gate, but hasn't stopped the planning. So that's all of my story in a nutshell. Hopefully it wasn't too long. And go from there. Any questions?
We did actually have a few questions come in. So what was your thought process and how you'd figure out who would be supportive? And then how did you deal with people that were close to you that maybe weren't so supportive? If they were.
So actually, I have a really, really good network. Everyone in my network has been very supportive. My direct family and friends have been like, oh, this is awesome. I have a friend on the line and I'm like laughing in my head because we were going on a trip to, we were going to Las Vegas. And I'd heard that there was a vending machine, a baby vending machine in Intercontinental. I'd done my research. I'm like, I know they have this machine. Honest has one. And I walked them all over the airport, all the way to Las Vegas. I'm like, we got to catch the plane. We got to go to this terminal. We got to go there. We got to go here. And they went. They didn't even know where they were going. They were just, we're going to miss our flight. We're going to miss our flight. And we're going everywhere. And we didn't find it, but we did find vending machines. So my one friend, I'm like, you have to video it. I'm going to purchase, you video it so we can figure out the mechanics, and we need to figure out how to make this work. And so I just have really supportive friends and family, everybody that's like, yeah, what do we need to do? Let's go, let's move forward. And also those that when they don't hear something, a new advancement, that will call me and say, so what's going on with Beyond the Gate? So I have that like accountability also. As far as figuring out how to navigate, like, or who wouldn't be excited about it, I've kind of just pitched it a few times. So in the crowd that I pitch it to, it seems to fall more on people that have kids and they're like, oh yeah, I need that. Or I've been without, even if it's not an airport, I've been to the doctor's office and they recognize it. But what I found is when you don't have those experiences, then it's kind of like, I may or may not need this. So it's a lot more like negative, and, you know, it doesn't seem to bother me. I think possibly because my undergraduate degree is marketing. And the first thing I learned is like, know your market. You can't sell to people that aren't in your market. So a lot of times I just take it with a grain of salt. Oh, okay, well, they're single, they don't have kids, but when they have kids, we'll be there for them. So that's
I think that's a good outlook to have. It's almost like, okay, well, figuring out most of them, the reason they weren't supportive was because they didn't understand the problem. And once you can get that, then it's kind of like, well, then they don't really have a say in my business, kind of a thing. And hopefully one day they'll be there, but they don't like it just because they can't see that, not because they think it's a terrible idea or there's something wrong with it. And you can kind of really easily get that in the back of your mind. Because of course, as entrepreneurs, there's so many no's, right?
A lot.
So many, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? And so it's kind of like trying to see it and see the truth of it, but then go past it if you can go past it. And you can, because so many parents out there, every single parent that I've ever talked to about this is like, yes, when are we going to see this?
Right. When is it coming?
And when I first talked to you, I wasn't a parent. I did have young nieces and nephews. And even now that I am, even though it's been in COVID and we aren't able to go outside, I'm like, when we are able to, I know that I'm going to need this, and I'm going to ask Ashton where they are in Houston and make sure that they're there.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
And you kind of did answer this, but how has Beyond the Gate evolved throughout your journey, especially with COVID? What have you had to do? I know you kind of started GAC Consultants, but specifically with Beyond the Gate, I know there's a few things that have kind of changed.
So with Beyond the Gate, before Well, no, during the pandemic, I kind of started to figure out like what could we do to offer our products, whether that was one of the things I considered was subscription boxes, because I know that's a big thing. That's the whole rave now, subscription boxes and trying to get things to people's door that they needed. But it just didn't, the options didn't pan out when you compare it to like an Instacart or HEB. It's just kind of like, I don't know that the benefit is really there. And so it became less of a something that we're going to actively move right now, and more of, okay, let's just go fall back into the research development, figure out how we can grow. So one of the things I did was I reached out to someone that's in the same market in a different area, about maybe partnering, to figure out what was the best way we can move forward. We were kind of in the same market. She was a little bit further. She had, some of the questions already answered. So it was like, you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's get on the phone. And she wasn't in Texas yet. And so she was very excited to have me reach out to her and to say like, hey, let's look at a partnership. So now we're moving into a partnership with her, which I think will be great because she already has so much market share. And then we're focusing on also creating products. So a product line for our machine, where originally it was the idea was just we set up the machine, we own the machine, we push the products. Now we're moving towards we have the machines, we own the machines, and we own the products. So that would allow us to do mass distribution. So that's kind of the direction we're going right now. We'll be on the gate. Our goal was to have the first machine in the Children's Museum in Houston this fall. Delta said not, but that I not upset about that at all. I think it gives us a chance to where hopefully when we do come out, we will be out with our machines, with our own inventory, which I think would be even better. So that's where we are with Beyond the Gate right now. And also always looking at trying to get more money, more funding, more investments, to kind of go with the goals. The hardest part I think about it is that it's more of an idea to some people. And so, it's harder to fund when there's not like, okay, this full-on product is working, it's making this money like this. You're kind of selling the vision. So that's kind of where we are right now with Beyond the Gate.
I love that. I love how resilient you've been through all of this. I think that's what makes a great entrepreneur is they roll with the punches, they figure out what they can do, they keep going. And ultimately, I think it's going to make for an even better product. I feel like it's going to be great. And kind of on that note of resiliency, you kind of at the beginning said that you never really thought of entrepreneurship and it just kind of happened. And I think for a lot of people, there's this idea of a traditional entrepreneur, a conventional entrepreneur. And I really hope that like with the way, the world is going and so many people are coming out and becoming entrepreneurs that don't have that conventional, traditional background. Why do you think it's so important that you do this?
I think, like you said, I mean, conventional and traditional is kind of all that we see. This generation, or for me, I can speak on for me. A lot of my friends that I would see are becoming entrepreneurs. So it's getting closer. I think it's one of those things like it seems like it's so far, like, oh, those people are entrepreneurs. You have to have this to be an entrepreneur. You have to have this money in. You have to like walk away from your job and do this, and you have to be single and you have to be in all of these different places. But for me, it started getting closer. A friend of mine has a company. She started off of t-shirts and she's now doing commercials and with MasterCard, and she's grown it so large. And I talk to her a lot, and she's always like, just do it, just go out and do it. And so for me, it was getting that network that was kind of closer that I could talk to, that was saying, no, it doesn't seem like it might work, but it will work. And it kind of fell into place with me. Like I probably would have never stepped away from my job had I not been laid off. And it's not easy, but you have to have a good support system. And so I think it's imperative to, if you know that you have something and you can solve a problem, then you kind of go with it. That's why I say I kind of fell into it, because had I not been a mother with twins struggling in the airport, I would have never seen a necessity for these goods along the line. had I never been laid off with my company and had other friends that were entrepreneurs, I would have never known that there was a need for a human resource consultant. So for me, I feel like it was just really organic. So I just kind of believe in, God's purpose and plan, and you just kind of fall through it the way you have it. And it's gonna always line up. For me, it was just meeting Christine at the Ion. Honestly, it really is what it was. That was kind of like, oh, okay, fire lit, let's run. So yeah.
It's amazing that that's how that can happen. If so many things in your life wouldn't have kind of happened in the order they happened, would be on the gate here, be here, would GAC consultants be here?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm asking all the questions, which I have plenty of more questions to ask, but I didn't know if anybody in the audience had anything they wanted to ask Ashton, any thoughts they wanted to put out there. I'll give a second and then I'll ask my next question. Oh, there we go. What types of services and connections did you utilize at the Ion? If not any in particular, which services and connections interested you the most as an entrepreneur?
So I've done like the how to make a pitch class. I've also done one on Dev Inc. where they talked about the accelerator. So I've actually looked into like how to apply for accelerators, what they are, like investing. I've also used a program with, I cannot call the guy's name, but he works with Dell for software. I actually even talked to him about how to develop like a better machine. So I think what we came up with is Beyond the Gate isn't ready for the Dell interface just yet, but I know that that's the direction that I would want to go to put a software like that in place. So those are the couple of the ones that I have used, and also just keeping in touch with Chelsea and Christine. Christine is a great resource. I will tell anybody, and I can email her and I might say, I'm thinking about this. Do you know someone that might know that I could talk to as a resource? And she's like, sure, yep, hold on, let me see if they can talk. And so I think it's just a good network to be around of like-minded individuals. And there's always something that you can use. There's always somebody that you can meet, and everybody is always so helpful and willing to assist. The one thing that I think I'm at the point now to kind of start getting more into is like, I want to look into like investing and funding, because every startup needs money, and I'm kind of in that stage. So trying to figure out the best ways to seek out investors and funding, and how I can grow my business. That's where I am now.
And just to share with the rest of the audience that may not know, Christine that she's referring to is Christine Galeb. She is the director of the senior director of programs at the Ion. So she's in charge of our accelerator hubs, workforce development, mentor program, and the academic network at the Ion. And she's doing a lot of events around. She is such a wonderful resource, and she was always happy to talk with people. So if you see other events from the Ion that she's hosting, pop in there, and then her profile and bio is on the Ion page, Ion Houston. We can link that in the chat for everybody if you'll want to check it out. But yes, I think at the Ion we have so many events that are geared towards beginning entrepreneurs, as well as people that may just need some little something here or there. So we're always happy, and if we don't have an event that interests you or that you'd like to see, we're happy to send you somewhere else, or maybe we'll create one later on too, because that's important to us, that we're making sure that the community has what they need, our community being Ashton and everyone else in the Houston area too. But I appreciate that you're saying that, Ashton, because we do want to make events that are geared towards entrepreneurs and everything. So tell us what more you need to, maybe some more investor things. It seems like
for me, it would be more like investing and like how to go about the process. I think one of the things I reached out to Christine was like, okay, how do I do this? Like, how do I find money? How do I get people like, and everybody just says pitch. And I'm like, pitch to who? Pitch how? And how do I do it? And the thing is, I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I will ask the same question till I get the right answer. And so I would say you definitely want to ask for sure if you don't know. I'll get an email from her every now and again. She might see something on newsletter and she'll email it over to you. And she's like, hey, you think this will work with Beyond the Gate? And so then I'm like off in this deep pit of whatever she sent me, trying to figure out this. And so yeah, for me, it would be more like, how to go about getting funding and investment at a smaller, at a startup without already having. Some people want you to have like sheets and sheets of revenue, like you've been in business for a year, and it's like, I'm working with a vision here. I just let me talk to you, and then then you can invest in me, and then we can work something out. So for me, that's what I would be looking for next with the ION.
So hopefully we can get that, and hopefully our investor studio will be up and running soon too, so that people can meet with investors and see what that's all about, because it definitely is a scary thing. I mean, I don't see there, but I haven't seen another question come through. So I wanted to kind of see, because a lot of these events with Family Tech Night is trying to show the younger people in the community what they can do. So do you have any advice for students or people just out of college, kind of trying to figure out what to do with their career? If they're like, entrepreneurship does sound cool, what should they do?
I think before I started doing like entrepreneur work, I would tell people to intern somewhere and what you think you want to do. And I think I probably would still say that, like, if you don't have a plan or you don't have an idea, I would definitely say intern, find somewhere, whatever you love, and find someone who does that and see if it's really what you want to do. The funniest thing is that I went to school to be an attorney. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer for a long time. That was my, like, from first grade sign. I wanted to be a lawyer. And I interned at a law firm and quickly found out that I did not want to be a lawyer. Kudos to lawyers, though. I have some really good ones that I love. But I didn't want to be a lawyer. And so I would definitely say intern and understand what you want to do. Because the thing about entrepreneurship is you can write your own story. You write your own ticket. And so if you're going to do that, and it's not going to be a traditional career path, then it should be something that you love, right? It should be something that you love to do. So that's what I would say is figure out what you love. And once you figure out your passion, and then build something around it. And the key thing is get you a supportive team around, because sometimes people don't know that they put negative energy out when they're speaking about something that is really, in your heart. And I think a lot of people have regrets on things that they should have done. And so I'm like, do it. If it doesn't work, hey, you can always go get a 9 to 5. So.
That is so true. And I also kind of think too, my first degree was architecture. And then I kind of worked in an architecture firm for a little bit. And I was like, no, this is not for me. Mm-hmm. Then I went into education. And then I was like, I love this, but it's also very hard. So I don't want to keep doing it. And I find myself here at the ION. So it's just, you never know what your journey is going to be. So I kind of always say, have an open mind, like how you kind of were able to move and grow. And then I love that you just kind of like in 2014 wrote this idea for products in an airport. And then,
it didn't come together until 2020. It didn't even make sense back then, but yeah, it made sense in the class. It just kind of came together. So I don't know.
Because it was a problem that you still didn't have an answer to, right?
Yeah, and I didn't see an answer. And then the crazy thing is, once we were talking about it in 2020, then I was like anxious, because I'm like, I've been sitting on this all these years. Somebody probably came up with it too. So we have to get it done. We have to do it right now. And but it worked out when it was supposed to, because I wouldn't have been able to find like this lady that I'm gonna partner with. And it all falls together. Even with like where we are with COVID now, like I said, then I wouldn't even be able to have products. So hopefully the goal is to have machine and product, and that would be great to have it all in-house.
So was this kind of part of your plan? I know we kind of talked about pivoting during COVID and everything like that, but when you started this, what did you do for a plan for it?
For the machine?
for kind of like for Beyond the Gate, did you have like these goals that you set in place, or this is what I'm going to do here, and then it kind of evolved, or how did it happen?
So yeah, the goal was to just have one machine. First machine was, I wanted it to be in the airport. And then it just kind of built from there. Just the machines. And I sourced out vendors to push products, that could bring the products into the machines, and then what that inventory would look like, and how many machines we would have, how we would do like surveys, how we would do marketing. That was kind of the initial plan of just the machines. And then in the research of the products and everything that it was taking, and I'm like reading about private label marketing, private label products and white label products, and talking to different people that are in consumer good industries, and they're like, everybody is doing the same products. They're buying it from the same place and changing the labels. And I'm like, is that what's going on? So just really doing a lot of research, having a lot of time on my hand, which is kind of what got us to like the pivot of where we are now. Never considered doing products. I didn't want to do anything that was going to be too extensive. And for me, I was afraid. I felt like products was something that I couldn't do. But just doing the research, it kind of, made it a little bit easier to see like, well, we can. And not only can we do that, and I was actually talking to I can't call his name, but someone Christine linked me up with, and I kind of talked to him, and he was like, oh, when I was talking machines, and he was kind of like, yeah, I hear you. Then I switched to like, okay, but our real goal is products. And he was kind of like, oh, okay, now we talking products. Okay, now, now it makes sense. And he gave me a different way to pitch it. And it just kind of took on a whole new world from there.
Yeah, so really, I think what has made you successful is that you're willing to ask questions and willing to talk to people,
Agreed.
Was that hard to kind of to start doing, or have you always kind of been that way where you don't care if you'll ask anybody anything?
Oh, if I need to know something, I'm going to ask questions. I've always been that way. I think my mom is actually on here. She can probably attest to that. I'm going to ask questions. I'm not going to just take anything with a grain of salt. I'm going to ask, and probably ask when people don't feel like I should ask, and I'm going to ask. The hardest part for me, which I had to get over, was actually sharing my business idea. Because you think like, it's my idea. I don't want anybody to take it. I have to hold it. It's for me. I can't tell you until it's ready. And just between the classes with Christine, actually talking to some of the other people that are entrepreneurs, they're like, you still have to talk about it. You just have to know how to talk about it, because what's for you is for you. So like, once I understood that piece, like, this is mine, what's for me. If somebody else does a vending machine, well, they can do it, but it won't be mine. That was the hardest thing for me to overcome. That was kind of my fear. Like, I don't want to just keep giving my idea. Somebody else might take it. And it's kind of like 9 times out of 10, nobody wants it because they don't want to do the work. So that was the hardest thing for me, putting the plan out there and then asking questions. But I had to, in order to ask questions, because I couldn't go, well, so people say, what's Beyond the Gate? Well, it's like this thing where, we would do products from this place, not traditionally a store, in places like where you wouldn't normally see a store. And they're like, what are you? So, then I had to shorten it. Like, we're selling baby products from a vending machine in the airport, or like the children's museum, places where you can't get stuff. And they're like, oh, I need that. And then I always get a story. Yeah, because when I went to the doctor's office and I didn't have a diaper, and this lady let me use this. And then we go down story lane. And so that has actually been good to be able to share the story and kind of get feedback from people, because then it allows me to kind of pivot and market as well.
And I think the more you share, the like more focused you become. Right? Because I can remember whenever you were first pitching me Beyond the Gate during Christine's class, I was like, okay, I get it. But then the more and more you talked about it, the more and more we met, it like, I understood it so well, and it was so much better. And like, you became so much more passionate. So it's like that scary thing telling people, but it just makes you, the more people you tell, the easier it gets. And then the better you get at it.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, like I said, I have people that will hold me accountable. So if it goes too long and they're like, I haven't heard anything about Beyond the Gate, what's going on? And I'm like, you know what? I was supposed to ask me again tomorrow. I'm gonna have an update for you. So they make sure I don't get lax, even in this COVID world where I'm like, oh, it's okay, I have time. They're like, no, we're expecting results. Time stamp it. We're going to be you want a week to do that? Okay, we'll call you back in a week and we'll ask what's going on. So that's just kind of where I am. It's been great. It's been a great journey. It's nowhere near over. We're just getting started because we have to get these machines out. So um, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome thing. And then you have kind of GAC on the other side because that's what you're comfortable with doing. You're really, you have this wealth of knowledge that you can give. And
Mhm.
I guess when I'm thinking about, young students and they're like trying to figure out what they want to do in this world, and a lot of people tell them, you can't be this, you can't do that, or you could do this, but it might be hard. How do you think, did that like shape you any? I know you wanted to be a lawyer, and I'm sure nobody told you that you couldn't, but
No, no. Honestly, I didn't have that. I mean, I came from a great family and a lot of encouragement. I've always been a good student, and easy. I pick up things really well, and I've always kind of applied myself. So I think that kind of has helped. Even when I became a mom, like I was the researching mom. Like if you came to keep my kids, you were getting a list. This has to happen at this time. It has happened like this for this or this and this reason, and this is why. So I've always been pretty focused and pretty structured. And I've really never had um, people tell me what I can't do, but that's mainly because I don't share a lot. That's why it was hard for me to share about my business. I kind of move in silence a lot of times. I'm like, I'm gonna get it done, and here we are. This is what's happening. And then I'm like, well, when did you do this? Because I just saw you and you didn't say anything. So I don't typically give people an opportunity to be negative, to kind of doubt what I have going on, because I keep, when it's time to share, I share. When it's not time to share, I grind. And so that has worked for me. So I know it's kind of like that contradictory, right? I just said, tell everybody what you're doing. But then I'm like, when it's time to share, it's time to share. So I've never not kind of achieved a goal. Now, what I have had to do is give up the idea of like the traditional and the conventional. That's why I say that. Like, I know I wanted to have a degree by this day, and I needed to have my master's by this day, and I was going to work in this job, and I'm going to be a vice president in the company by this year. So I had to give up that, and just say I have these goals, and when I meet them, I meet them. So I've done my MBA. That was my, next goal. The next thing is to get Beyond the Gate, off the ground. My desire is to have our machine placed by next year. By summer of next year, I want to have our first machine placed. Um, and so that's the goal. And if it doesn't happen by then, like I'm not going to beat myself up, but that's kind of what I have learned. And that's kind of the advice. You have to give yourself grace. You just have to, because if you don't, then you're going to beat yourself up. And there's so many other people in the world waiting to beat you up that you kind of don't need to do it to yourself. So that has kind of, always worked for me. Like I don't know, I've just been really blessed to have like I said, have a great support system of people that I can reach out to for, different things. And I tell everybody about the Ion, like anybody can tell you, they're like, what's going on? The Ion, it's the Sears building downtown, and Christine has helped do this, and, we're doing this. And so it's just having the right support and the right resources, I think, for me, that's really been helpful. So I'll tell anybody, get a great support system, have great resources. Be careful what you share and who you share it to, but not about your business. So that's a big contradictory situation, but that works for me.
what would you tell people that maybe feel like they don't have a really great support system? How would you tell them how they can maybe get some more people that support them? What should they do?
um I think traditionally people just assume family, but I would just say get a network somewhere, whether it's at school. If you have a good solid set of school friends, that's one way. If you have a good set of a teacher, if you have a teacher, that's a good network. I recently picked up a dance class. I know that's not like entrepreneurship, but I'm just going to share that anyway. We picked up a couples dance class, and I was telling another of my friends that it just seems to be a great just network of people, and they enjoy spending time together. And you go to something like that, and you have people from so many different walks of life, something as small as that, and befriend someone and can kind of build a network or a connection there. You just never know where you can build connections. I think, you know, you never burn a bridge. You never know who you'll need or who can, you know, kind of help you on your path, whether it's fitness is a big thing. If you have a trainer, you never know if that's the right time and the right place, that might be someone that could be a network that can build you up, because like we just said, entrepreneurs are everywhere now. At least one person knows an entrepreneur that's, you know, in some type of distance, close distance from them. So I would definitely say use any network that you have, any resource that you have. No one person constitutes, you know, a network or a resource. Just you have to get out and actively find your people. That's what I say. Find your person, find your people, however you have to, whether that's work, school, sports, fun, church, whatever works for you. Find you someone that you can trust and that, you know, you can give you solid advice that will, you know, support you. But also, here's the thing. A lot of people want to make friends with people that are nice and tell them all the good stuff, but a real support is going to also help you with the bad things too. They're going to tell you when that's a landmine. I don't want you to blow up. Now, if you blow up, don't say I didn't tell you, but I told you. So that's a good balance as well. I want to make sure I say that. You want to make sure you have people that's going to lead you right, both dynamics.
Yeah, and not be afraid to tell you, not necessarily their truth, but if they
Right.
see something, warning you about it, or if they're an expert in something, kind of giving you their expert advice, even if it may be
Right.
something you don't want to hear, but they're going to be there to help you work through it too.
Exactly. That's key when building a network.
I love that. And, you know, for people on here that may be interested in entrepreneurship, if you feel like you don't have a network too, I mean, Ashton found some people at the Ion through events, through her other networks. So if you feel like you don't have anybody in the entrepreneurship space that you know, places like the Ion, Canon, Texas, oh, my brain's just, there's so many. But if you want some more resources, let us know after the event. We'll help you find some events or meetups that you can come and meet some people that are trying to do that are doing what you're trying to do, or maybe on that same path too.
Yes, go to the Ion. I'm excited. I'm ready for the building to open up so we can post COVID, of course, so we can come in and meet people and kind of network and grow. I'm excited for that. So
It'll be so fun. I am so excited. There's going to be great restaurants and then like events happening all the time. And it is such a cool space, just even like walk through. So I'm excited for people to come see it. Hopefully soon, you know, the next few months, we'll see how Delta goes through Houston hopefully as fast, and lots of people are starting to, you know, be safer, and hopefully this can be done soon. But did anybody else have any more other questions for Ashton about entrepreneurship, her consulting business, her education, MBA, anything?
about funding or investing, we take all questions, calls. No, I think we're good. I don't think there are any more questions.
We don't have any more.
Can you hear me? Yes. Hi, Ashton. Do you have like any absolutes as like, this is the line in the sand and I will not cross?
For entrepreneurship?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I don't cross the line of integrity. I don't keep my integrity for sure. I would just say anything that does not benefit the society, does not benefit the community as a whole, is an absolute no for me. I'm working in baby products, and so I'm very mindful as a mom of the products. So just because a product is cheaper doesn't also always mean it's better. So I'm big on making sure that at least for Beyond the Gate, we have things that are best for like the community as well as the sustainable for the environment, and the betterment. Because I mean, these are people's babies. I wouldn't want anybody to use something that I wouldn't use on my baby. So that's why I kind of say like my integrity. We're not going to just say it's cheaper, and so we're going to just stick it in a machine and we don't care. Like, no, that would probably be my absolute in the sand as far as like entrepreneurship. I'm not willing to sell my soul or anything crazy like that for a buck. We won't do that. So
I love that question too, because it's kind of like, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, a lot of times it's the bottom dollar. It's, how can I make the most? How can I get the most out of this? But then we're coming to this place where it's, we need to also do what's best for the earth, what's best for our children, our parents, and the rest of the community. And sometimes that might be the easy way, but maybe it's not the easy way at the end.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that.
And that's something you have to think about as an entrepreneur, right? Like what your values are for your company.
Definitely have to have your values. That was a good question, because I was like, wait, what? No, we're not doing nothing crazy for sure. But you definitely have to have your values and stick to them. And that's that human resources piece. I always tell people, like, the company is only as good as its employees. You build your culture and you have your employees that kind of suit that culture. So for me, I take that over to Beyond the Gate. Like, whatever culture we want to bring, like we're selling to babies, I want parents to feel like they're partners, that they're a part of this. And, we're going to do what's best for your babies. I have 4. I wouldn't do anything for your child that I wouldn't do for mine. And I want you to be able to believe that. So the last thing I want is, oh, well, this product has this and it's doing this to babies and we're selling it because it's cheaper. Not that to me, it's not worth the dollar. And again, like, you tarnish your whole company culture, your whole value system and goals, and it's just not worth it. We see a lot of that in the news as it is. So.
Right. And I think that, oh, yes, go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, yeah, I just had a quick question. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs, once they kind of get going in their business and they kind of get that entrepreneurial push, they tend to, I guess, be a little bit reluctant about going back to work, especially if things are going well. For you as an entrepreneur, do you see work as something you would do to sustain your entrepreneurship? Or are you looking to make your entrepreneurship ventures your full-time source of employment or payment? If that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, that's like, entrepreneurship is my full-time hustle, but I also am no fool. I have a full-on MBA and I will teach if I have to. I always tell people that's my fallback. I not even a fallback. I actually looked into that after I got laid off. I wanted to teach human resources. I enjoy it that much. And I think that I would do good in like a basic human resources, teaching people how to do it, why you should teach the class. And so I actually put together like a CV, and I was ready to apply to some different universities. And then I decided to just go full-time. So if this thing doesn't go out, you might see like Professor Ashton Guerrero at one of these local universities on the side to supplement those other things. But ideally, I would like this to be my full-time goal, because I really want to develop Beyond the Gate. Also, like I said, with the products, I want to grow nationally. And I said I started off with a lounge. That is still the end goal. The lounge is still the end goal. Like, long term, we're talking 10, 15 years. I want to have a family lounge in airports, like similar to like the business class, where you can go and, people take their kids there, but it's not really kid friendly. I would love to have a family lounge where families can come and have like a play area in the airport for their kids, and you can just kind of come in and out. So I have so many plans with Beyond the Gate. I definitely would want to continue to do it full time as long as possible. But Professor Ashton will pick up some classes if I have to make those ends meet. Okay, so thank you, Ashley.
I'm here for it, Doc.
I don't know about that.
We have a few more minutes. Does anybody else have any last minute questions?
Ashley is actually one of my friends that I was dragging through the airport.
She's one of your hard supporters. Yes.
Yeah, she was walking through. She's like, we're gonna miss our flight. We're going to Vegas. We're gonna miss our flight. And the thing is, they didn't even know that they were going on this journey. It was like, well, since we're here, I want to go find this machine. And then the machine wasn't there. So we went away on the other side of the airport and it wasn't there. And then we were like at the makeup thing, trying to buy makeup. And I was like trying to do the actions and she was trying to video. And yeah, it worked though, because now I know like how I want the vending machine to function. So it was all worth it in the end of the day. So, hey.
That's great. And you have great friends and great family that support you. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Well, I guess we may kind of end here, but I did want to end by saying thank you to everyone coming out tonight. Ashton, I have so enjoyed our conversation and I love hearing about Beyond the Gate and everything that you're doing. I think it's just awesome. So now if I don't hear anything in a few weeks, I'm going to email you.
Email me, you know it. Chelsea's husband and mother-in-law did a competition on the logo for Beyond the Gate. I think your mother-in-law won, right? That's the one we went with, hers.
I think so. They were really excited about it.
Yeah, so like I'm excited. So we'll be seeing something. So yeah, if y'all don't hear anything next couple of weeks, then reach out to me and see what I'm doing. If you don't see anything, but definitely gonna let the ION know when we're ready for that red ribbon cutting ceremony. So everybody can be there. So we're excited.
All right. Well, I'll stay on for a few minutes if anybody has any last minute questions, but thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and be safe out there.
Thank you. I could hang around too.
Yeah, if anybody was nervous.
Lauren's giving the thumbs up in the background.
Yes, and I mean, if the professor thing.
So
Oh, go ahead, Arthur. My son's name.
See?
sorry.
I think it's kind of breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was on the call, got on late. Just want to be sure. So this is going to be a building where the community, investors, employers, all. Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, were you
Yes.
talking about the
did I lose you
ION?
guys?
We hear you, Arthur.
Yes. So, 1 second. So this, okay, perfect. So this going to be a building where employers, the community, basically anyone can come and share information, get information, and make their pitch if they're entrepreneurs and things. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so the ION is going to be open to the community to come to different events, to sign up for different educational kind of things if they need help with, like as Ashton was saying, she went to one of our pitch classes and other things like that. So yeah, there'll be things, and it's all completely free to the community as well. Workforce development and all kinds of events happening.
Oh, really cool. I'm actually a student. I just graduated from the University of Houston with a degree. Now I'm back in for electrical engineering. Do you guys know if you'll have anything, tailored toward that or?
So we do have depending on if you have an idea for a business, we do have our accelerator hub that has Rice Alliance, DivInc, and our own Smart Cities Accelerator that will have lots of different things happening with that. So if you are interested in doing a business, I would keep on the lookout for those because they have different themes throughout the year. We'll have a makerspace lab that students can kind of come and do and work on some projects and learn about different things there too. So that's all kind of coming up in the future.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for that information.
You're welcome, Arthur.
All right, you ladies have a good one.
You
And
too.
congratulations on graduating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so
congrats.
much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We hope to see you at the Ion once it's open.
Oh, you definitely will. Trust me. My name is Arthur
Awesome.
Green.
Awesome.
I will be there. All right. Goodbye, ladies.
Bye. I'll be there too.
All right. Was that your mom that put in the chat?
Where? Probably. Jam about, yep, that's my mom.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
they did the pitch at the wait, I don't know if you were there when we did the pitch in the at the Ion right before COVID, and we did our pitches from the class, and Christine's like, bring people, you can invite a couple of people, and nobody invited people, and my parents are sitting there like
I
ready for
love
the
that.
presentation. And I'm like, oh, y'all didn't bring nobody? I brought my mom and daddy. And so they were sitting right there, and nobody else brought anybody. I think one girl brought her husband. But yeah, that was it. So
hey,
that's my
that's
mom.
supportive.
I have so much family on
Supportive.
here though. Like my mom is on, my aunts, my friends, my cousin, like I call her my sister cousin. She's on. So yeah,
Hey,
I probably have more family than anything.
That's probably why you're so successful though, because you have all these people cheering you on and helping you.
They're really
So
supportive. That was my aunt that asked the question about integrity. We look just alike. I don't know if you could tell. We all look alike.
I didn't want to say anything.
I did.
but-
Okay.
Yeah.
I did notice, but I was just like, I don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah, that's my aunt.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. I went somewhere today and I had on my mask, and this guy, I spoke, and he's like, I don't recognize you, but you look like a ball trip. And all he could see was this. And I was like, you're right. You're right. I am. Yep. So yeah, my family and friends are like super supportive, really like grateful for them. So the red ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be huge. I'm excited. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be on the lookout for those angel and funding and those programs. Christine invited me to something. I missed something last week.
So we have an angel investing series that takes place every month. The next one I think is actually going to be in September. Once it's published, I'll send you it via email so you can register.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. I didn't even see that one. So angel investing series in September. Yeah, I definitely need that, because I'm like, I know what I need. If somebody tell me how much, I can tell you where it's going and all of that. So
we literally just had one. I could send you the recording though as well, if you want to take a look at the recording.
Yeah, that would be good. Because I want to break into that. I actually have applied for like a couple of accelerators. Somebody reached out to me with an accelerator in Dubai, and I was just kind of like,
wow.